too. He rushed home to Robyn. He needed to check in on, I don't know, the kids, her feelings about my labor.
Oh my gosh, Cody, it's your 13th child on the 13th day. What was your
We have to induce.
Your 13th biological child on the 13th day. Holy cow.
We should. Serious.
Okay.
Let's see what the doctor says.
Okay. Cody and Robyn, they got engaged and everything, and I thought, oh, that's nice. They're engaged now, so now it's more official. Like a month later, I found out that Cody sealed the engagement with a kiss, and I freaked.
Christine Brown recently shared a short video on Instagram where she read from her new book. In one part, she talked about giving birth to her daughter Truly. Christine revealed that during her labor, Cody left her and went home. She didn't understand why he left or what was so important. But fans of Sister Wives might remember that in that episode, Cody said he needed to change, yet instead of going home, he went straight to Robyn's house. At that time, he wasn't even married to Robyn, and he didn't live there either. He didn't bring any of his kids to the hospital, so his visit to Robyn seemed strange. While Christine was still in labor, Cody stepped outside with Robyn and kissed her. He admitted he didn't want the cameras to catch him doing it because it would look bad since his wife was in the hospital giving birth. So he knew it wasn't right but did it anyway. This moment has stayed in people's memories because it showed how Cody prioritized Robyn over Christine, even during such an important moment in her life. Christine's book seems to dig deeper into how Cody distanced himself not just from her, but also from Truly. When Robyn became part of the family, everything started to change. Cody had just welcomed a new baby, but he still went on an 11-day honeymoon with Robyn after marrying her. That meant he left his newborn and wife behind during a time when he should have been helping. On the show, Cody often claimed that he spent extra time with the wife who had just had a baby to support her, and the other wives seemed to accept it. But Christine's story suggests things weren't really as smooth as they were shown. Christine also talks about how the family once filed a lawsuit against the state of Utah to try and legalize polygamy. They won the case at first, but then it was overturned, and the Supreme Court refused to review it. Even with that effort, Christine was never legally recognized as Cody's wife. She might even talk about whether she regrets standing in public, promoting polygamy, saying it was happy and safe, especially knowing that real abuse was happening in other fundamentalist groups and even within their own church. The book may also touch on Christine's family history. Her grandfather, Rulon, took over a religious group in the 1950s, which led to a split. One part became the FLDS, while the other became the Apostolic United Brethren. Years later, Rulon was murdered by someone connected to another radical group. Christine's great-uncle, Ervil LeBaron, was a dangerous man who believed he was the only true prophet and targeted others who claimed to be spiritual leaders. This dark history has never been talked about on Sister Wives, but Christine's book might finally bring it to light. I'm really curious to see if Christine will talk about the death of Rulon in her book. Understanding who Christine is and what shaped her life wouldn't feel complete without mentioning that moment. Rulon's murder wasn't just a personal loss, it affected the entire group she grew up in. Before that event, the group was already cautious of outsiders like police and government authorities. But after Rulon was killed, the fear grew worse. They no longer just worried about people outside the group, now, they were also afraid of rival religious sections. These rival groups could threaten their safety, try to take over leadership, or even harm their members. This growing fear led to more strict rules, more isolation from the outside world, and tighter control over group members. It became harder for people to leave or question their leaders. Christine was still a child at the time, so this tragedy likely had a strong emotional impact on her early life. Her father, Rex, was very close to Rulon. He was one of the children from Rulon's second wife. That connection probably made Rulon's death feel very personal for Christine's family. This traumatic event may have influenced her understanding of loyalty, trust, and authority. Christine's book also seems to include a section about efforts to make polygamy legal, or at least decriminalized, in Utah. It's unclear whether she still supports those efforts today. Back then, she stood publicly on the steps of the Capitol, defending polygamy and trying to separate her family's lifestyle from the more extreme and harmful groups, like those led by Warren Jeffs. But over time, she may have started questioning what they were really fighting for. In Utah, it's no longer a felony for a man to be in multiple marriages, as long as that's the only thing he's doing. But if other crimes happen in connection with polygamy, like underage marriage, forced marriage, or fraud, those are still considered serious crimes. For example, if someone commits welfare fraud, tax evasion, or is involved in trafficking under the cover of polygamy, it's still illegal. So while the law has softened in some areas, the deeper issues haven't gone away. People often say polygamy is fine if all adults agree to it. But in reality, these criminal activities often go hand in hand with the lifestyle in certain groups. It's very difficult to separate the two. Christine's book might address how polygamy isn't always as harmless as it's portrayed and how her views on it may have changed over the years. It will be interesting to see whether Christine opens up about these parts of her past, the fear, the isolation, and the painful truths she once supported. Her story could shed light on experiences that many people have never fully understood. Christine grew up in a group known as the AUB, or Apostolic United Brethren. While that group might not be known for child marriages as openly as others, there are still troubling practices that happen there. Even now, young girls are often raised and groomed from an early age to eventually become wives. There have also been long-standing accusations against leaders in that group for doing harmful things to their own daughters or arranging marriages between young girls and much older men. Despite this, Christine once used her public voice to defend their lifestyle and push back against people who were trying to protect women from these kinds of abuses. It raises the question, does Christine now regret doing that? In the past, she stood alongside others who denied what was really happening in these communities. Many brave women were speaking up and demanding stronger laws to protect young girls and women, but Christine and others dismissed their voices. They tried to show a happy and safe version of polygamy to the public, ignoring the real pain happening behind the scenes. And that positive image made it easier for Utah to reduce penalties related to polygamy, which some people now say caused more harm than good. While Christine is now writing a book that calls out Cody for mistreating her, which fans are excited about, it's also important to wonder if she'll address those deeper issues. Will she talk about the women who were hurt? Will she mention how the public was misled about what life in those communities was really like? Some people who live in Utah say that making polygamy a lower-level offense didn't help the women at all. In many of these groups, women are still taught not to trust the police or report abuse. That hasn't changed. What has changed is how bold some of the men have become. Since the laws have softened, more men have committed terrible acts out in the open, thinking they won't get in trouble. One recent example is Samuel Bateman, who had 27 wives, 10 of them were underage, some even as young as 10. It's heartbreaking. And when Utah first reduced penalties for polygamy, the state had created a special fund for victims, money to help women who suffered abuse. But after the law changed, that help disappeared. So, many victims were left with no support at all. Christine isn't to blame for all of this. She was raised in a system that taught her how to think and speak. But now that she's left, a simple acknowledgement of these truths could mean a lot to the people still hurting. If Christine admits she was used to spread a message she didn't fully believe, it could help others who felt betrayed by how the show portrayed polygamy. And if she speaks honestly in her book, not just about Cody or Robyn, but about how the cult shaped her life, it could be a turning point.